Hello and welcome to Chocolate for Breakfast. This is the Sunday bonus video. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about the preconceived ideas we have about food, nutrition and losing weight. A few days ago, I like to kind of see what people are saying and, keep my eye on things in a sense. I was watching a video uploaded by a beautiful young woman where she was telling people to, she had her opinion, she was talking about reducing the calorie intake. As I mentioned in a previous video, the theory of calories, and it is a theory, was actually disproved. If you've seen the video, you'll understand why. But this is one of the preconceived ideas that we have, that in order to lose weight, we have to reduce the calorie intake, okay? And so she was presenting this idea. And one of the things, again, this is a preconceived idea. One of the things that she said was, don't eat in front of the TV. Make that a no-no was the expression. Okay, my immediate response to that was, why? It seems to me that there isn't actually any good reason not to. And I'll explain. She went on further to explain in her video. I would like to be very clear here. I'm just going to interrupt what I'm saying. I would like to be very clear that what I'm saying in response to what this person has said is not at all to criticize this beautiful young woman. If she's making videos about health and nutrition, she's doing that out of the goodness of her heart, First of all, she's not had a weight problem, so maybe she doesn't quite understand what that can be like for somebody who's had a very serious weight problem like I did. But like I say, the intentions are good. I just feel from my experience and from what I've studied that the information is perhaps not right. And having said that, if you come across this video and that's something you want to try out, then by all means, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. Again, I repeat myself continuously about that. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I would encourage you to question though. So to come back to this preconceived idea about not eating in front of the television, this was justified, and is justified, not by this woman herself, but generally speaking, this is justified with the idea that if we're eating in front of the TV, we're not concentrating on the food. And we need to concentrate on the food because it triggers off reactions in the brain that help us to not absorb too many calories. That kind of makes me smile. If we were to follow that logic, then when we're having dinner with friends or when we're having dinner with our family, we should in fact talk, and once the food is served, eat in silence. Because when you're having a conversation with somebody, your attention is also distracted from the food. So logically for me, the argument doesn't really have any grounds. And another example of that is my mother died in 2007 and my dad was grieving very badly. And he'd been used to eating with my mother and spending time, discussing and talking and having a conversation at meal times. And as somebody who also I live on my own, meal times when you're on your own can be quite, I'm not going to say difficult, but quite strange, especially if you're in the habit of eating with other people. Eating alone can be a little bit strange. It's almost a feeling of embarrassment. And I think this is why a lot of people actually don't, when they are on their own, they don't actually bother to have any food. They don't actually bother to have a proper meal. In a sense, it's like, well, I'm all on my own, what's the point? What my dad did, because my dad has a very good eating routine. He eats at certain hours, and it's a good routine for him. I'm not saying that's a good routine for anybody else. He has his routine. What my dad did was to put the radio on during the meal so that he wasn't lost in the pain of not only having lost his wife and eating now alone, he wasn't lost in the pain of, you know, thinking about all of that. So, which brings me to another point. Even if you do eat alone in silence, your attention is still split by the fact that you have your thoughts, and we think continuously throughout the day. I mean, it's impossible to stop them, especially for me. So the argument doesn't, for me, have any grounds. Again, I'm not, again, just to be very, very clear, I'm not at all criticising what this woman is doing. I know she's doing that for a good reason, and she's doing it to try and be helpful, okay? And I would never criticise anybody for trying to be helpful and, you know, doing that for other people, for serving other people. You know, that comes from a good place. She carried on saying that, she turned around and swished her beautiful long blonde hair round, and she carried on by saying, she produced a plate and she said, oh, this is the normal, I don't know how many centimetres or whatever plate that normally people would eat in. And she turned back around and she got another plate. It was a much smaller plate, it was maybe half to two thirds of the size. This is the plate I use, you know, so that I eat less food. And again, my immediate response to that was, okay, if that works for you, eating that amount of food, and you're not tired and you're not, you know, whatever, you're not suffering from hypoglycemia, you're not suffering from hunger, then fine. Please, by all means, do that. If that's sufficient for you, do that. But if you're eating on a smaller plate, I mean, to come back to my dad's 6'3", my dad's enormous. My dad has to eat a certain amount of food in a day to actually maintain his body. So a small plate would not be enough for him. And again, it brings me to the thing of everybody is different. The analogy that I can make about that is we're all built in, or let's say, a similar way, okay? You know, we have the same organs, we have, you know, everybody stands on two legs, we've got two arms, two hands, etc. We have vocal cords, but your voice doesn't sound like my voice. Now, you have some people who can do some pretty good imitations of other people's voices, but your voice does not sound like my voice. And it's just to say that although we're similar, we are still different, and everybody is unique. What I would say in response to big plate, small plate is keep the plate where you've got sufficient food, but what we really need to look at is what's going into that plate. Which brings me to the TV thing. If you're having a big plate of salad with tomatoes, cucumber, onions, you know, lots of different things like that, some avocado perhaps if you like that, some radishes, you know, all those really nice things, I don't see any contraindication to actually having that in front of the TV. What is perhaps the danger is when you have the big pack of ice cream, or you have the bag of crisps or the bag of sweets, and you're doing that on a very, very regular basis. And again, I would really like to insist upon the fact that I don't consider any food bad, but I do think certain foods need to be perhaps eaten in moderation, okay? So I would like you to just kind of think about this and, you know, maybe question the ideas that you have. The whole idea of this program that I'm doing is for people to question and not just take for granted what's actually being told to them, okay? The solution I have to the bag of sweets in front of the TV, it is nice to have something now and again while if you're watching a TV program, if you've got a good film on, it is nice to have something. If your stomach is empty, you can have some fruit, okay? And I will be talking about fruit in a later video. Very important information about fruit that a lot of people are not aware of. If your stomach is empty, this is I would say one of the only things where I would say there's actually a rule. Fruit, always your stomach empty. You could have some fruit. Personally, and you've guessed it, I have chocolate, okay? And I'll have 3 or 4 squares if I feel like it in an evening if I'm watching the TV. And I think that's perfectly okay. As far as big bags of sweets and things are concerned, and again, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just, you know, speaking from my own experience. And even while I was going through the period of weight loss, and I remind you, I lost 45 kilos in under 8 months, what I do, and I did that then, when I go to the cinema, now, I don't really like popcorns, it's not my thing, but I do like to have the big bag of Maltesers or the big bag of M&Ms. Now, I go to the cinema maybe once or twice a year, so maybe once every 6 months I go to the cinema. So it's not something I do either on a regular basis. And I've already explained in previous videos, and I will continue to explain in future videos, why I avoid those kind of foods or make them you know, very rare. I can't think of the word actually, I've got the words coming in French, I'm sorry. I make that food an exception, let's say. But, you know, I will do that because it's a pleasurable time. And again, the whole idea of this program is to put the fun back into food, because we get to a point where we don't know what to eat anymore. Everything we put in our mouth, whether it's considered good or bad, is going to make us feel guilty. So like I say, the whole idea of this program is to get rid of that, get rid of the preconceived ideas, make up your own mind with the information, with the proper information. I think that is really, really important. I wanted to say something else. Yeah, the way I work with people, for example, I saw a woman yesterday, and she has very particular working hours. She works sometimes at night, and she works sometimes during the day, and sometimes it's like very early in the morning, and then she'll be home in the afternoon, or vice versa. She starts in the afternoon, she'll be home very late at night. She does this kind of shift working style of working. What she does is she has her dinner, what we would consider a dinner, for breakfast, and then she has what we would consider lunch as a normal lunch, and then she has what we would consider breakfast at dinner time, or what we would class as dinner time. And my way of working with people is not to say, oh, you're doing this all wrong, you have to stop doing that immediately and do something completely different, and, you know, and make them feel bad about what they're doing, because that's absolutely not going to help to start off with. What I do is I look at what the people are already doing, and I suggest perhaps to modify certain things. So I've not at all told this woman, oh, you cannot have a steak and green beans in the morning for breakfast. If that's what she's comfortable with and that's what works for her, why would I tell her not to do that? Okay? So this is the way I have of working with people. I think I've already said I'm very open-minded. in my approach. And like I say, I don't consider any food to be bad. I'm trying to think if there are any foods that I consider bad. Maybe kidneys, but it's just because I don't like the taste. Aside from that, I don't actually consider, if I do come up with one, I will let you know. But for the moment, I can't think of any food that I consider as bad as such. And like I say, I think some foods I prefer, I favorise certain foods, and other foods I will, limit them. I don't like to use the word limitation, but they become less important for me, if I can say that like that. So if you wanted to get in touch with me, again, my email address is underneath the video. I'm working with a certain number of people as well as case studies for the book. So if you wanted to take part in that program, by all means, get in touch. And I'll be speaking to you soon. And here's to your very good health. Thank you. Bye-bye.